Well, now Wi-Fi has become the preferred wireless technology, enabling the explosion of wirelessly connected devices. While there is a global effort to get ubiquitous wireless connectivity for all, even in its current state, it has a great effect on how our society works, plays, and lives. IoT helps people live and work smarter as well as gain complete control over their lives. Today, every bits and pieces are connected and are smarter, be it our home appliances, retails, medicines, etc. Let us hear from the leaders talking on various aspects at this session on Wi-Fi 6, impact and industry approach and IoT. I would like to call upon Rakesh Upadhyay, CTO, ONEOTT Entertainment Limited, Suryanarayan CS, Country Category Manager at Aruba, a Hewlett Packard enterprise company, Vikas Gupta, VP IoT Strategic and Smart Connectivity Enterprise, Vodafone India Limited. This session will be moderated by Amitabh Singhal, co-founder, former President-ISPAI, and founder, former CEO, NIXI. Over to you, Mr. Singhal.
So good day to you all. It is my pleasure to be present virtually at this Telecom Leadership Forum. And thank you to my friends at Voice and Data for organizing this specific session on the given topic of Wi-Fi 6, impact, industry approach, and Internet of Things. It is my understanding that Wi-Fi 6, which is also called the High Efficiency Multi-Users Access Wi-Fi, and is the IEEE's 802.11ax standard, which was finalized as recently as September 2020 only. I think we are already even looking at not just Wi-Fi 6, but also Wi-Fi 6E already. So the protocol standards coming quick, one after the other. And I also suppose that Wi-Fi, along with other technologies, is and will be a significant driver towards mass scale deployment and growth of Internet of Things and industrial IoT as well, where we are eventually looking at very huge opportunities with very big numbers. Consider some of these numbers that I have at hand. The connected devices via IoT are likely to go up from a current 1.9 billion devices, which are connected, to about 27 billion devices in 2025. Then the spending on IoT technology increasing from something like 1.3 billion US dollars, and this was a figure about a year and a half back, going up to something like 9 billion US dollars by 2025 again. And the global IoT revenue itself is estimated to be $1.1 trillion. And I think India is looking at a share of 5 to 7% there. But some estimates from some research houses is something to the tune of $3 trillion by 2025. So that's a huge number of devices connected via IoT, and revenue that it is going to potentially generate is really, really huge. Massive opportunity for the industry. And which is why I think it is very important that we understand what's happening here, in the sense that Wi-Fi is probably, as I said earlier, one of the underlying technologies that will drive IoT. So beginning with Wi-Fi 0 way back in 97, and I had some work that I had done during my ISP association days of discussing with the government to allot ISM bands and freeing up Wi-Fi spectrum. From that time onwards, now having gone through several transitions up to Wi-Fi 5, which is 802.11 AC, and now bracing for the next leap, I think we are hoping to gain some valuable insights from our industry experts, such as you guys here, on how Wi-Fi 6 will be the key in relation to proliferation of IoT. So I think it'll be good to discuss both the imminent adoption of Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E as well, and also the impact it'll have on the growth of things. And I think when we dive deeper into the discussions, we'll probably also have some insights onto how the amount of data generation that will proliferate would also probably help in growing the AI, artificial intelligence space as well, and other technologies that are coming in. So for that, we have our industry experts, Rakesh Upadhyay, is the CTO of ONEOTT Entertainment Limited. We have Suryanarayan, country category manager at Aruba, which is a Hewlett Packard enterprise. And we have Vikas Gupta, Vice President, IoT Strategic and Smart Connectivity Enterprises, Vodafone India Limited. So welcome you all to this session. And having given the background, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is to ask you all as to how will Wi-Fi 6 be the game changer in terms of its impact on various user segments, and why is it an imperative for enterprises segment specifically to embrace these technologies, including IoT? And do you see any impediments to such a transition? For example, there could be issues about backward compatibility, there could be issues about legacy costs that the industry does bother about. So are we really ready to embrace these technologies at the rapid pace that they're coming with? So I will request Rakesh Upadhyay to go first, and then give us some insights.
So it has been 20 years, more than 20 years, we have been using Wi-Fi now. And Wi-Fi, which essentially started as a convenience, matter of convenience, getting rid of the wired connections, is now has become absolutely mandatory now, not only for the office use, for enterprise use, for a lot of other business related uses also. And there has been multiple generations of evolution of Wi-Fi. We started from 8.0 to 0.11b to G to N to AC to in 2014 to now AX in 2019. And now we are also talking about Wi-Fi 6E. So now if I compare this Wi-Fi AX with its nearest rival, which was Wi-Fi 5, or predecessor, which was Wi-Fi 5, and also called 802.11 AC, which is very prevalent now. Mostly all the Wi-Fi chipsets are now that are now deployed are mostly 802.11 AC. Hardly there will be few remnants of 802.11N. So the difference that is there is always speed. Speed is always there, but that is not the main differentiator between Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 5. The main differentiator between Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 5 is its capability, is its efficiency to handle so many devices, right? So there has been an explosion of devices which need to connect to internet today, which need to connect to Wi-Fi today, and Wi-Fi 5 or its predecessors were simply not able to take care of all those needs. So I think Wi-Fi 6 has come just at the right time when there is explosion of devices. And the technologies that it uses, like multi-user MIMO, OFDMA. OFDMA is something that started with Wi-Fi 6. Multi-user MIMO, though it started with Wi-Fi 5 also, but it worked only in the downstream. Now with Wi-Fi 6, MU MIMO is also working with the downstream as well as upstream, and with more number of spatial streams. OFDMA, it works on the same premise of enabling more and more concurrent transmissions to multiple devices at the same time. But it has got a different differentiation with MU MIMO in the sense that while OFDMA is suitable for the low power devices, low bandwidth related devices where the consumption of bandwidth is less, but and the internet speed is a concern. I think MU MIMO is used where there is a explosion of, there's a huge need of the data carrying capacity like smartphones or laptops. So they cater to the different segments of the devices that are used on the Wi-Fi. So IoT is one such application where there is a need of multiple devices which require very small amount of bandwidth to talk to internet. So in that sense also Wi-Fi 6 is also a good enablement. Having said that, there are other things also which make a Wi-Fi 6 very useful in the, like battery backup time. It uses some technology, one technology called TWT, target wake time, which removes the unnecessary chatter between the Wi-Fi device and the client devices and the access points. So this helps in saving the battery lifetime, which is so important for small devices like IoT. It also has reduces the interference by using the something called VSS coloring. So it detects the interference from the nearby access point devices, and it simply discards them. That makes it much more intelligent and it much more efficient. And compared to Wi-Fi 5, which was using 256 QAM, Wi-Fi 6 uses 1024 QAM, so which helps in increasing the speed to, say, theoretically it can go up to 9.6 Gbps compared to around 6.8 Gbps in Wi-Fi 5. So it's a game changer. That's what I want to say, that Wi-Fi 6 is really a game changer. And with its next successor, which is Wi-Fi 6E, it's another game changer. It says that we are now moving to a different band from 2.4 gigahertz to 5 gigahertz. Now we are moving towards 6 gigahertz. Only problem is that today it is not approved by Indian government. So, but once it is approved, it is going to be a game changer. So many applications will come out, not only IoT, like AR, VR, so many applications will come out once we have that speed and capability and latency and other things that are made available with these standards being implemented across the ecosystem. So I think Wi-Fi 6, absolutely, it's a game changer.
Okay, so Rakesh, thank you. I think that was good. And you do agree that this is a game changer, but the next part of this same question is, you really do see some impediments in wider adoption of these standards now, or will it take the time to adopt, which you think happens, because there's a standardization that comes through, and then there's a lag, in terms of adoption and implementation of these technologies in the networks. So you think there are some issues that will come up and which we likely have to look at changing so that the adoption is much more quicker? It could be legacy costs, it could be technical issues, it could be regulatory issue, and like you said, the policy is still not there for 6 gig approval. So there could be such other impediments. So what do you think could be those impediments?
So one of them, I think which impacts the rollout time and the adoption is the readiness of the client devices. I mean, the end client devices have to be capable of supporting Wi-Fi 6. Today, only very high-end laptops and the smartphones, they support Wi-Fi 6. So that is one impediment, I think. Having said that, even if we have Wi-Fi 6, it is backwards compatible to Wi-Fi 802.AC and so it will work, but it will not give the benefits that we are looking out of the AX. And I also think that another impediment maybe is that it would be the kind of we need to develop the applications for these things to work. So IoT devices have to be developed to support 802.11ax things. So normally our intention when we are going for IoT devices is to make them cheap, right? So the cheaper devices and the requirement of 802.11ax support, these may contradict our requirements. So this may be one of the impediment where adoption to 802.11ax may be delayed. And because see, 802.11ax is mostly it is very, very suitable for IoT for its capability to handle multiple devices at the same time. But if devices are very cheap, they will not support the 802.11ax. So that may be an impediment. So I think as and when the adoption increases, the scale of economy will work out, and at that point of time, the adoption will increase, and 802.11ax will be one of the largest deployed technologies.
Yeah, I think, that's very pertinent, Rakesh, because like you said, the development of applications which would effectively run on Wi-Fi 6 and 6E, that ecosystem needs to develop. Similar to, from a layman's point of view, I would say, the similar situation that we face when we upgrade our computers, 32-bit to 64. Now, a lot of applications which run on 32 will not just run on 64-bit. Okay, so that's the kind of legacy jump that one has to cater to, right? And I think that's a lot of ecosystem challenges that we are talking about. So thank you, Rakesh. I'll come back to you with some more questions later. Surya, may I have your thoughts on this whole issue about, like Rakesh agrees, that Wi-Fi 6 is a game changer and that it is a very important factor that will impact the offtake of IoT. And when we talk of IoT, of course, after you, I would look at Vikas. He is an expert on the IoT side of the game. Before that, Surya, your thoughts on how is it going to be game changer and what are the likely impairments? How do we overcome that? Your thoughts, Surya.
Sure. First of all, Amitabh, thank you very much. A very good day to my co-panelists and to all those who have joined this platform to listen to us. Before I move forward, Wi-Fi is something which can be equated to the essentials today. When I say essentials, roti, kapda, makan, and Wi-Fi. So you cannot live without it. That's a new mantra of Wi-Fi. Now, having said that strong statement of you cannot live without Wi-Fi, that's a fact. When people used to have optional as Wi-Fi, saying that if my wired port doesn't work, I'll look at wireless. Today is just exactly opposite. Okay, so last year March was eye-opener, where everybody started working from home, and whichever segment was never embracing Wi-Fi started connecting to a broadband network and a wireless network. So that's made reality what the technology innovation is. As rightly said by Rakesh, innovation beyond 2 decades, we finally found the reality of what Wi-Fi is. Now, at Aruba, we started the Wi-Fi journey 2 decades back with one single clear motto called "People move, networks must follow." Had it been wired, wherever you go, wired cannot follow. You should, in fact, the discussion on the boardroom was wherever the network is, you go and connect to it. If Amitabh is fixed to a port, you should go to the port and connect. Then only that port used to identify as Amitabh. So the first evolution of bringing in Wi-Fi was you move, I follow you. So that was the journey which started the revolution of Wi-Fi. That followed with, of course, the issues of signal strength, the issues with connectivity, the issues with role-based access, the issues with security. Over a period of time, all this got addressed. Somewhere I always say that Wi-Fi 6, no doubt, is a revolution, or I can say solved many other issues which Wi-Fi had. So I'll name a few which Rakesh already had updated. At the same time, the 3 biggest fears of Wi-Fi in our generation was signal strength. I still remember the corridors of Delhi used to tell me that, "Oh, 5 danda hai kya aapka?" So do you have 5 bars? If you don't have 5 bars, your Wi-Fi is weak. Okay, so the next thing was, you remember those days where if I connect from my laptop or a phone, if I switch on Wi-Fi, my battery power used to just die. Okay, so we used to switch off Wi-Fi and connect to Wi-Fi whenever it was required. Okay, so that was the second fear. Third fear was that I have 5 bar signal, but my browser keeps rotating. Okay, so that was the 3 biggest fear, which actually Wi-Fi 6 to an extent solved it. Okay, so this was how Wi-Fi started. Wi-Fi 6 definitely is going to address that. All the previous standards were focusing on performance. How many lanes in a highway I keep giving. Okay, so it was like a typical example of how you connect Delhi Gurgaon and put a toll, or construct Western and Eastern Express Highway in Mumbai and start constructing a flyover. Okay, so it was predominantly on performance, meaning how do I enhance the performance, speed. 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6 moved towards efficiency. The reason why it moved to efficiency is the device types are changing. Device type changed from laptop to smartphones. That's when the revolution of Wi-Fi started, because smartphones predominantly didn't have a RJ45 port. So that means your primary connection to the network is Wi-Fi. So moving forward, you will have a lot of sensors, or you can call it as IoT. I call it as sensor. Sensors predominantly, again, as you rightly said, low powered, and then predominantly connect not just on Wi-Fi. There are other technologies like BLE and Zigbee protocols. So effectively, it will focus towards efficiency, which is predominantly making you ready for the world of IoT. Now, having said that, what are the improvements which we had? Okay, so one is as an individual, what is that I'm going to get? That's an individual performance. Here I talk about data rates, where I can get good large data rates, meaning a good efficiency of network speed and throughput, assuming that you have a good ISP backbone. More important, I'm going to save my battery life. That means that today I don't remember when I switched off my Wi-Fi. Okay, so I keep my Wi-Fi on always. Okay, then comes the system performance. That's the second important point, where you can have more number of APs now. We call it as overlapping APs. Earlier, we used to restrict number of APs or shut down the radios because we had limited number of non-overlapping channels. So when I have overlapping APs, that's when I can look at density. Rakesh just touched upon density actually. So that means I can have more number of radios to cater to more number of devices, and I can go as much closer to my device. Then you can have short packets. You remember those days where I keep giving good examples, saying that you have a bullock cart in front of you, and you have a auto rickshaw, and you're traveling on a Mercedes Benz, and you're going behind bullock cart. What is the speed of Mercedes Benz? Okay, so it's actually as the speed of bullock cart. That's how the Wi-Fi was. Okay, so these were the issues which solved as we moved to Wi-Fi 6, giving dedicated lanes to each packet, giving short packets so that the efficiency can be improved. That's where the system performance came into picture. Then it also evolved into a lot of new use cases. What are the new use cases? I'm sure Vikas will talk about a lot around IoT. But that IoT in a silo without Wi-Fi or without connectivity is of no use. So supporting IoT was one of the main use case. If you look at industrial automation, which is happening, Industry 4.0, it's all about sensors. How are you going to connect to these sensors? Will Wi-Fi play a role or other protocols will play a role? That's where the next revolution is going to happen. So that's the reason why it's very important to move towards these new age technology. A lot of outdoor scenarios in terms of connectivity or smart city or smart Wi-Fi connectivity, that will become additional use cases. So having said that, just not to dwell too much around what is OFDMA, what is multi-user MIMO, or spatial reuse around BSS color, each gave very critical, important outcomes. What were the improvements? I can now say that I can, with OFDMA downlink and uplink, I hope everybody knows that wireless was half duplex, meaning when I am speaking, Amitabh cannot speak. You're in a listening mode only. So, or I can speak to only one user. When I'm speaking to one user, nobody else can speak, like the way today Rakesh or Vikas is. They cannot speak simultaneously. It's like a walkie-talkie technology. So, OFDMA, with OFDMA, you will have more clients, you will have low latency, more efficient for low data rates. Please believe me, this is very important from a country like India. The reason is, as you rightly said, is it backward compatible? So forget about backward compatibility. I don't have an option. You will have users on an iPhone 14 or iPhone 6. You will have users on a Samsung S22. You will have on probably Note 1 or Note 2 also. That means that one which will connect on a 11N or ABG radio, maybe ABG may not be there, 11N radio on a 2.4 gigahertz. The other one will be on 5 gigahertz with 11AX. Okay, so that's the reason why it will be like a bullock cart story. Everywhere there will be a bullock cart in your network. So how do I address that issue? Okay, then it will also go into short packets so that I can, we call it as resource units, which will split a 20 megahertz packet into 9 or 8 subs packets to ensure I improve the speed. So with this, I improve 3 times the system capacity from the earlier standards, or I can have many more clients in the same given area. The reason is, there are enough studies. People may counter my question or answer also, saying that I say Surya used to be earlier one device called laptop. Then I changed it, saying that 3 devices per Surya. That is laptop, a tablet, and a mobile phone. Now I say Surya may be equivalent to 10 devices. What am I going to wear? I'm going to use a lot of wearables, which will connect onto my network or to the external network. So that is around what OFDMA downlink and uplink can give. Multi-user MIMO, again, multi-user MIMO was a kind of introduction which happened in 802.11 AC. AX actually, as rightly said, it bring in the most critical aspect of downlink and uplink for up to 8 clients. It's kind of a switching technology bringing into Wi-Fi. Okay, so where I can simultaneously address near to 8 clients capacity. So that makes it 2 times the capacity over 802.11 AC. That's a previous standard. So it will bring in more efficiency in grouping clients, then reducing sounding and acknowledging overheads. Okay, so the reason why these are critical, Amitabh, is look at our usage pattern. Our usage was earlier predominantly only data, email. Okay, now we are moving towards application specific. We are more into like platforms like Zoom or Teams, where this packet is no more just a data packet. Actually, what am I doing in the network is seen as data, but here I'm doing voice and video. Okay, so this is where Wi-Fi technology evolution will happen, where one is the Wi-Fi will understand the application, what it is hitting it, and how do I treat that application? How do I prioritize that application? What is the device type coming into my network and prioritize into my network? Meaning IoT sensor may require a specific treatment. Smartphone, which is BYOD, may require a separate treatment. My in-house HP laptop requires a separate access and security and all other things. BSS coloring was the one which made 2.4 gigahertz come back into Wi-Fi 6. If you know, 802.11 AC left out 2.4 gigahertz. The reason is it couldn't handle because there were just only 3 non-overlapping channel. Obviously, it was not possible to put it in a high-dense location. With BSS coloring, it's like you speaking in a restaurant. A restaurant has 20 tables, each speaking to each other. It's about you will have overlapping signal, but I keep giving different table names so that you can address your table. So that's how within channel 1, channel 6, and channel 11, I'll have different colors so that there'll not be any more issues of non-overlapping channel issue. So that's one critical aspect. Indeed, Rakesh touched upon 1024 QAM, which will give 25% efficiency over 11 AC. He touched upon target wait time. Believe me, this is the one which will make all the users who are listening here or outside will be happy. You take any battery, any smartphone with any battery, I'm going to save your battery power. You know, no more those days will go that my smartphone will work for only half a day or a quarter day when I use Wi-Fi. So that's the important revolution which has happened around target wait time. Study says that you can improve by 3 to 10 times the battery life. It depends on phone-to-phone variants. There were other basically revolution which happened. I don't want to go deep into it. So with that, these are some of the critical aspects which Wi-Fi 6 brought in. And also it added to it a bit around security. WPA.
That security, sorry, to cut you, Surya.
Sure.
There will be a separate question altogether dealing with the security concern. And I think it's a very wide subject. I don't think we can do justice within 1 hour of.
Absolutely.
But I'll come to that specifically.
So just to summarize, Wi-Fi 6 will truly say people move, networks will follow.
Great. Thank you, Surya. I think very comprehensive. And I think that brings me to, Vikas's area of expertise, which is IoT. And I think both our speakers, Rakesh and Surya, have underlined the fact that the improvement, a multifaceted improvement in the Wi-Fi technology, both in terms, from performance to efficiency to density of equipment and everything else, put together gives me the sense that that is what IoT is all about, right? The ability to connect machines much more efficiently, performing better and exchanging data. And I think very recently, DOT has come out with the licensing as well for machine to machine, which is aimed at encouraging IoT business. So, Vikas, I would turn to you and look at your inputs on how this is all geared towards enabling us as a country to adopt IoT on a much more wider scale than we currently have. I already talked about the global numbers, right? At the same time, we do have a certain dream from a policy perspective as to how much of that market and the revenue the country can take. So, give us a sense of what do you think about this?
Thank you, Amitabh, for setting up this panel. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you, Surya and Rakesh, for sharing your inputs. Well, in terms of IoT, you said very rightly, Amitabh, when we talk about the growth journey of IoT, the adoption of the IoT is going significantly high. Globally, if you ask me, they are far ahead of India. But if I say last 1 decade, there is a significant improvement in the IoT adoption in India. And then honestly, I have seen the time when we were just starting and going to the market and talking about the IoT, many people were reluctant. They were not ready to adopt because that time digitization was also at very slow pace. But gradually when they start realizing the cost versus benefit and they realize that there is a smart move that we should go and adopt the IoT. And when we say IoT is not a standalone job of one particular telco or one particular organization. This is a combination of multiple organization work as one ecosystem. Because IoT, I'm just trying to explain for the benefit of the audience that IoT solution consists of multiple things. It's a hardware, which we talk about the sensors, then it is a connectivity, which is provided by the telcos. Then there are platform and application, which is again managed by the different experts, followed by the cloud. And after that, there is a service layer. When it all combined together, then only you can offer a smart IoT solutions. And when we talk about in continuation of your question, Amitabh, in adoptions, certainly there is a significant adoption. There's a different use cases which is happening in India. And it's increasing day by day. Earlier, we have seen the maximum adoption was happening towards the automotive side. Their organizations are well educated and they understand the benefit, they adopt it. And gradually then it moved to the payment side also, especially in the BFSI sector where point of sales adoption. And now if you talk about, there are many use cases, solar, water management, electric vehicles, you name the solution, agri, water management. There are a number of case studies which are there and which are highly adopted and they can easily measure the benefit. And then there are, I still remember when we go and talk to the customer and we talk about these are the basic investment you have to do it. And there were earlier people were reluctant that why should I invest this much money? If I invest this much money, well, I get the ROI on time. Today they are proactively coming thanks to the new normal. This new normal has already, changed the sequence where, consumers and as well as organizations are now very keen to adopt the new technologies. And they believe that IoT can help them to increase their business, reduce their cost, and get a very better customer experience. That's broadly we have seen in our IoT journey overall.
Okay, Vikas, thank you. And I think what you said resonates with me, coming from those times, earlier times when in the mid-80s, I got involved with the office automation industry by starting to sell computers, personal computers, the antiquated personal computers at those times, and the photocopier business that was there. And I remember from a use case that you talked about, I'll come to the use cases to you guys specifically, but just to recount some of those anecdotes, which something like, okay, photocopier machines, job workers, they paid, by the counter, there are a number of copies made, not the capital cost of the equipment, right? So I think things like IoT will also enable, in a sense, using modern technology to do anything which is remote, right? You don't have to, you will basically not sell products probably in many verticals, but you will sell performance, you will sell services.
Absolutely. These are the expensive equipments. You need to see the wear and tear of these equipments. If preventive measurement is taken because of the IoT, definitely their cost of service will reduce significantly. And these are I can share a number of use cases, but considering the time limitation, I will not go deeper into that. But If you ask any particular use cases, we can talk about how we have turned around their journey in terms of cost benefit.
So, okay, so that's interesting because it brings me to the next part of my question, which is about mostly the adoption. So, we're talking about use cases, we're talking about adoption. What, Rakesh, do you think are those verticals which are best placed to jump into the bandwagon and take advantage of the new technologies? For example, it could be telecom providers we are more familiar with, we are part of that ecosystem. But at the same time, there's healthcare, there's automotive industry, there's transportation, there's medical, there's municipal services, so many different verticals to look at. So in your experience, what do you think or who do you think would be the best place? I mean, there could not be just one vertical, but there could be multiple verticals. So maybe you can, from your experience, tell us about some use cases where you've seen better rate of adoption and who are better placed to leapfrog.
Yeah, so last 2 years, we have actually not only seen the adoption, we have actually seen the value also of IoT in the sector like healthcare and fitness. So in the days when people were avoiding visits to the hospitals, so that they were using the IoT gadgets for the remote monitoring and remote surveillance and also remote consultation with the doctors. So this is one area where IoT is being adopted in quite a good manner by the people, and also the fitness gadgets that many people have started wearing when they are going to the exercise and other things. So I think healthcare and fitness are the early adopters of this, apart from the manufacturing sector also, where manufacturing sectors also need IoT sensors which improves the productivity, which increases the efficiency, which increases the safety also, prevents damages, and it gives a lot of predictive information also, which can be used by the manufacturing sector also. So healthcare, manufacturing and fitness, these are the three sectors which are the early adopters. And I think they have understood the value of IoT in their respective sectors.
Okay, Surya, so what do you think?
See, Amitabh, good points.
Both Wi-Fi and IoT. I mean,
IoT, it's like a mother and dad. Without Wi-Fi, no IoT. Without IoT, there was no revolution would have happened on Wi-Fi. I am sure the examples which I give is very realistic. Okay, take example of what Amitabh's home is. Amitabh may not be still tech savvy, but your next generation will be connected on Alexa and Google Home. And to that Alexa and Google Home, you don't know what you're going to connect. You're going to connect your smart TV. You're going to connect your home security. You're going to connect your washing machine. You're going to connect your roti maker. Roti maker connected on a Wi-Fi, getting a firmware upgrade. Okay, so you're going to connect your CCTV cameras. So this is a revolution which has happened in your home. Now, I cannot accept the fact that IoT will not enter into any segment. Any segment which has to progress needs to embrace IoT. Okay, so that's the reality. Now, when I say that, predominantly India is in the digital era. When I say digital era, we were still in the era of connectivity. We were still in the era of bandwidth. Now, as India moves to smart, that without IoT will not. What do I mean by smart? Okay, so as Vikas enters his office, his lighting system will be IoT enabled. What do I mean by that? Based on his presence, okay, those light switches on. You remember those days where you used to put presence sensors. Now I'll not measure on presence sensors. I'll depend on Vikas' mood also. Vikas is happy to an extent, I change the ambient color to green. So believe me, these are bound to happen. Okay, so I may like ambient color. Vikas may like bright color. Okay, so based on my understanding on who is coming into my room, based on my previous setting, the light color changes based on my previous setting. This is IoT. Okay, so take thermostat. I am a Bangalorean, good to go 24 degrees. Okay, so if you are a Kashmiri or a Himachal guy, 24 is still hot. You may require 20 degree. Now, do you think your thermostat understands that? May not be. Your thermostat will be connected to a Wi-Fi or any other medium based on your previous setting. Understanding the context or the user, thermostat changes the temperature automatically. Now, do you think this use case is not going to be used anywhere? Everywhere. Okay. Go to industrial automation. No industry 4.0 discussion will happen without IoT, without that connectivity medium. Okay. So often people get confused with IoT and Wi-Fi. Okay. The reason why these two get married is when you go to smart city, it has nothing to do with Wi-Fi. Probably a LoRaWAN will come, or a 5G, 4G discussion will come. From an Indian context perspective, Wi-Fi is critical. The reason is, as you have seen, Amitabh, you are engulfed with 4 brick walls. My Wi-Fi will not go out of it. Let me tell you. Neither your 5G will come inside. So you have an option of only Wi-Fi. Okay. So in India, we are heavily brick construction. We also density is high. You go to Mumbai, whatever data they give, 5G gives 1 million connectivity. The moment they go to Mumbai, all that logic will go off because density is high. And it's all skyscrapers. If you see the way the towers are maintained, it's more of an antenna tilted toward downside. If you go stay in 20 or 15 floor and above, it's Bhagwan Jane. Okay, so these are the reality that Wi-Fi is the technology to go. Okay, now along with Wi-Fi, it's no more the access point will be just a wireless radio enabled. It will be IoT gateway. When I say IoT gateway, Wi-Fi access points will be built not just with 2.45 gigahertz. Rakesh touched upon Wi-Fi 6E. I think Rakesh or you, Amitabh, you touched upon Wi-Fi 6E. 6 gigahertz is going to come. That means the AP will be with 3 radios. So sensors, I can probably dedicate sensors to 2.4 or 5 and go take the data rates into 6 gigahertz. That's a split use cases which will follow as the technology progresses. It also builds in with BLE beacon, Bluetooth low energy beacons. There are a lot of other use cases with BLE beacons. It can give a Google kind of experience within the campus, probably indoor navigation, asset tracking. Asset tracking, when I say, is a use case in a hospital where last week I was meeting one of the leading hospital, which had a use case of tracking stretchers and wheelchairs. Okay, so because that's a pain, they hardly have a limited number of stretchers and wheelchairs. At any point of time, they don't know where it is. So these use cases will evolve. And if you go to hotels, they used to say we are very much in concept called touch, feeling, right? If you go to a hotel, a smiling face will greet you. That's a touch. With COVID, they say that my hotel is touchless. I don't want humans now. That doesn't mean that a robot will stand in front of the reception to greet you. The fact is they are making into, I can say, lobbyless hotels, keyless check-in. So that means you go with a wearable. We did it with Assembly, one of the POCs, where it works on a Zigbee protocol. With your presence, the door lock opens up. So use cases are in number. Each vertical have amazing use case. Okay, so you go to retail in one of the big giants who's coming in from online to offline. One of the pain areas which he has is he has almost 55 to 60 livestock. When I say livestock, this is your coriander or kadi patta. Okay, the value of that is 10 rupee per bunch in the morning, and evening 10 o'clock, the value of it is 0. So that means he has to change his price dynamic. How is he going to do? Every day he used to send his price list on an email, and the store manager needs to take a printout and stick to it. And it's human error bound. Now we work with a company called, we work with multiple companies for ESL tax, electronic shelf labeling. Meaning sitting in Bangalore or Delhi or Mumbai, I change my price dynamic. These are the use cases. Let's not talk about IoT, Wi-Fi in a silo. This definitely is going to address many use cases in every industry vertical, be it retail, be it hospitality, be it healthcare, be it manufacturing, or anything to do with smart building. You take smart cities or smart building or smart campuses, everything will move towards that. So hence, if you allow me to speak, I can give you a number of use cases. Multiple things are coming into my brain, but the fact is there are definitely many use cases. As rightly said by Vikas, it's not just about sensor. It's about that ecosystem, building that application, connectivity, medium, and sensor to come together to address those use cases.
Yeah, thank you, Surya. And I think I agree with you when you say that you can go on and on with the use cases, the possibilities also as well, including agriculture and so many other vehicle management, transportation, everything, everywhere, every business that you talk about, there is a application for IoT.
In fact, so I just will tell you, smart warehouses. Look at smart warehouses. It's like humanless warehouse, bots managing the warehouse. So in a recent POC with one of the leading retail chain, where the entire warehouse was managed by bots. And in fact, I was so surprised. The bots came so near and just moved out. That's the logic behind. So it's like truly a step towards AI/ML. You definitely, it's all about smart.
Right. So I think, we'll have Vikas telling us a lot more about that as well. Let's leave out something for him to elaborate on in terms of use cases. So he's our...
Yeah. So thank you so much, Amitabh. Thank you, Surya. I'm amazed to see your insights about IoT. And thank you, Rakesh. Also, you talk about consumer IoT, and a little bit, Surya, you talk about consumer industrial. So I also wanted to share some facts that what are the current challenges and how are we addressing those challenges, how the industry is adopting the IoT. It's very important. It's a ground level reality which we wanted to share with you. You may not get those kind of information in anywhere, but reality is that people should aware of. So when we go and talk to any companies where they need any B2B companies where they need any IoTs, if you take the example related to, let's say, automotive. When we started our journey with automotive, there were only one or two companies. They accepted our IoT solutions, and with reluctance, they said, okay, we will go with one variant. We'll use the IoT. Maybe I'm talking about almost 4 or 5 years ago, and at that time it was very difficult to explain that why you should go for that. After implementing that same, they realized the customer experience was much better, and they realized their demand of the product has increased significantly. Moreover, they also got their market share increased. And also they get an edge over competition. After seeing all those benefits, they immediately start increasing the variants. Rather than one variant, they've gone for multiple variants. They also reach to the new product line. Likewise, there are many other, automobiles companies. They also approached us because of one or two use cases. And that gives us the confidence that if you can implement one IoT solution successfully, chances are very high that you can adopt it, you can replicate in many other accounts. Today, I can proudly say that line share in automotive is driven by Vodafone Idea. And that's one. Then we move to the another use cases. And what we realized while interacting with the customer who has been using our services more than 3, 4, 5 years, they proactively approach us. They said, we completely trust you. We understand the credibility, understand the kind of interest you take in IoT. We want you to handle this end to end. When I say, as I explained in the past, that this IoT solution cannot be constituted by one organization, you really need multiple, helping hand to run any IoT solution. So they want us to, front end. We internally discuss, debate, and we realize that if you really want to improve and show that IoT really works well, we decided to initiate the new approach. This is the new avatar of IoT, where we call it integrated IoT. And that integrated IoT, our immediate focus was that we can become a one-stop shop to offer all kind of solutions, where we will front end in terms of giving the connectivity, hardware, applications, cloud, and end of the day layer of the services. So that the gentleman who is using, the company which is using the services, they need not to go pillar to post. If there is any problem related to the solutions, they usually struggle. They go to connectivity provider, they said, boss, you check what is the problem. They go to hardware, they go to application companies, and it takes hell of time. And this has happened with many CXOs during my discussion also. They said, you take end to end. You help me out, at least it can help me. And trust me, while interacting with this company, when we built that ecosystem, we did that tie-up with all leading hardware manufacturers, whether it is an Indian or maybe it's an international. We have done that tie-up. We have done that tie-up with all the application companies, whether it's applications related to water management, solar management, or we talk about any automotive related applications. Even if they need the customization, we ensure that that capability is available with us. We also work with the cloud companies and also build an entire additional infra which is related to service. Because when there is a problem, we had earlier expertise related to the telcos, which is related to connectivity. Now we build an infra, which is a service infra, where we have a subject matter expert who take care of remote, device diagnosis. There is a team which is taking care of application support. There is a team which is taking care of other related peripheral product which is required in IoT. And that gives a customer confidence that, yes, if you really want to adopt the IoT, you need to go for integrated kind of solutions. The classical use cases I can talk about like EV sector, and I'm just touching a little bit on the new sector, which is really growing well. They are one of the sunrise sector. Recently, there are more than 100 companies, they are entering into the 2V, electric vehicles. And during our interaction, they also want to provide value to their customers. In their manufacturing time only, they wanted to put up the IoTs. And the IoT is not only related to vehicle diagnosing, vehicle monitoring, they are also using it for battery management. Even there are other services related to, battery stations, because these are coming very, very quickly. There are many companies, they are setting up the battery stations so that people can swap the batteries. And all those things where IoT plays a very important role. We are integrating with their CRMs, ensure that the data can flow easily. They can take lots of decisions based on the behavior of the consumers. That's one. Then we can talk about any other industries like fleet management, and this is a very very important industry which is doing very well, and which is one of the, I can say, leading industry in especially in the IoT sector in India. Especially when you talk about the fleet owners. These fleet owners are like, they have a fleet of like 8-10 trucks. If you see in India, there are close to 10 million trucks which are available. And these fleet owners are earlier they were struggling. They have not visibility about the vehicle, how they can track the vehicle, track and trace the vehicle. They do not know what is happening when the truck goes to particular trip. They cannot estimate the trip time. They have a complete deficit between driver and the owner, because they have a dispute on there is a fuel theft. There are many more problems. And by putting the IoT solution, at least they can improve, they can increase their saving, they can improve their efficiency, they can improve their vehicles overall maintenance. All those benefits with a small investment, which investment is not also very high, is helping to adopt the IoT. The other irony in this entire IoT is about the devices and the connectivity. When I say devices, Indian market price plays a very important role. It's a price sensitivity market. If you ask any fleet owner, or if you ask any organization that you want to take IoT, they will ask that how much money you can reduce in your solution. If you need to reduce the cost, so first and foremost, it comes a hardware plays a very important role. And hardware means still people prefer to take 2G, because India, the 2G penetration is much, much better. Then they go for 4G, because when they take 4G hardware, automatically the hardware cost increase significantly. There are different kind of customers, they prefer, they want it to be, aligned with the market, and they want it to be more future fit, they adopt that. But still, majority of the, customers, they prefer cost effective solutions. Those are the other challenges where we are working very closely with the manufacturers, sharing the lots of case studies that how they can work towards reducing the cost. We are working with the module companies. We are also seeing that if there is any scope of improving from our side to ensure that our end customers, along with the consumer, should get that benefit so that they feel happy and start adopting as early as possible. Currently, this
is a good point, because I think what you are saying also gives me an idea. I mean, this already may be true, but not having been totally involved in the IoT side, as I say, apart from the internet sector that I've been involved with, and I saw the evolution of the internet industry itself and held the initial ISPs as a new class of service providers that were not there before. I see very clearly that there is a new class of service providers, IoT service providers, possibly coming up, who will bridge the link between the technology adoption and technology and services and the industry segments. So it will be a separate class of service providers. Do you think that is how it will evolve? Anyone is free to answer? Yeah.
Yes, there are different companies which are there coming to the IT space, and they are also, they do have their domain experts. I can talk about, like, you take the example like robotic IoT solutions which is coming, or you talk about there are companies which are startups are coming. They are coming with lots of different augmentation kind of solutions which are coming. But again, these different companies are coming as a subject matter expert to the particular solution related to IoTs. But if somebody who wants to come as a stop shop, it could be any strong SIs, the small integrators, the system integrators, they are going to come into this space who can provide end-to-end solutions, or telcos, because they do have that expertise, they do have that understanding of Indian market, they have seen the complete, adoption of the different use cases. They can easily, I can say the success ratio of these two industries will be much higher compared to the startups or the new companies which wanted to increase their footprints. That's my take.
Right. Yeah, and I believe also that there is this whole opportunity of new business models emerging. For example, you were talking about the battery management with the new green vehicles, right? I believe that, for example, Rolls-Royce, when it doesn't sell engines to the airliners anymore. What it does is basically manages the engines remotely, makes it perform with the use of IoT, and at the same time it charges them on a per mile basis, that kind of thing. Now, similar thing could be happening with the battery operated vehicles as well. So these are the new models that IoT is enabling, these new models, right? Okay, so I think thank you so much. That was very comprehensive, and I think we have limited time now, about 7-8 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. So I think one big question that arises from all this discussion that we have had is what Surya had earlier referred to, and I had cut him short at that point of time, was about security concerns, right? Now, wherever we are talking about proliferation of equipment, the ubiquitous connectivity, multiple devices, people being online all the time, we are a nation which generates and consumes data like no other nation. Okay, I think currently the individual basis we are doing 11 GB per user. That is the kind of data consumption that we have. Expected to go up much more in the coming years. And with all these connectivities that we are talking about, the deep penetration of devices, the data usage will only gather momentum. Now, that is also not only the basis of newer technologies emerging, but at the same time gives rise to concerns, which will also be on a continuing basis, right? It's a chicken and egg situation. The more you connect, and if there's a need for it, the more security concerns that will come up. So it's the same chore police game that we continue to play. So what are your thoughts, Rakesh, to begin with, on the security concerns that we have? I mean, I'm trying to, within a very limited minutes that we have, get a sense of the scope of security concerns that we need to be aware of with all this. So it could be network security point of view, from an enterprise point of view. It could be about privacy concerns, data protection concerns at an individual level or a business level. So how do you, and these are things that will overall impact the overall quality of experience and quality of services. So how do you see this being handled? Because that's going to be a crucial factor in determining the adoption rate also. Because sometimes, as earlier it was alluded to by some of you, was adoption is based on a certain understanding, right? So it could be the use case, yes, but then also the fact that am I safe using these devices, connecting to so many devices, putting that data out all over the place in the network. How safe are we going to be? So is that experience going to matter? And how do we look at that? Rakesh?
Yeah, Amitabh. So security, of course, is a very, very critical thing. And we all know that many of us, or many of our older generation people were averse to using net banking or credit card because of the security related concerns, and rightly so, because there are a number of ways. These people are very, very innovative. So they keep on finding some way or the other to fool the people or fool the system or fool the process and compromise the security and of the people and the privacy of the people. So security is, of course, a very, very key concern. Having said that, security is also as strong as our weakest link. One weakest link and the complete set of the security is exposed. So we have to be very, very careful. It has to be well planned before even the implementation happens. The security related things have to be discussed, have to be planned, and have to be absolutely made clear what are the things are going to perform where. Most of the times we see that people leave the last 10 devices to the default credentials like admin or something. So these are the loopholes which are there, and the hackers, they use these vulnerabilities in the network, and they start with one device, they are able to go to the other device, and the complete network is compromised. So security, of course, is very, very critical. Wi-Fi 6, of course, implements WPA3 mandatory. It is mandatory to be implemented. So Wi-Fi 6 takes care of that. For other things, there network-related security has to be taken care by the network service provider, like access control lists, and by using firewalls, using antivirus, regular updates and patch upgrades. So these things combined with the best practices, like we have to use strong passwords. We have to have, we don't have to use repeated usernames and passwords on the multiple devices that we do it normally during the implementation stage for the speed of the rollout. But then that becomes a very, very big vulnerability in the network. So these are the best practices we have to follow, and security is not an afterthought. It has to be a very, very pre-planned strategy to implement in the networks. So that's my point of view on the security. It is so very, very critical.
So I agree with you. I think the basics are still, you have to remain with the basics, strong passwords and careful usage, not opening up your data to outsiders or to unknown links and that kind of stuff. Okay, without going into too many details here, thank you, Rakesh, for that. So Surya, your thoughts, and again, I think let's try and wind up within 2-3 minutes each. So to do justice to the time frame that we have. Thank you.
Thanks, Amitabh. Security is not a topic to be discussed in 2-3 minutes. Probably I'll cover up the perspective in a very short thing. I started off saying that people move networks must follow which Wi-Fi made it. At the same time, security also needs to follow. Okay, so security, I cannot anymore tell a user, come to my office, sit in my desk, that's where I give you security. It's just reverse. Whether you connect in a hotel or whether you connect in a home or whether you connect in my office, whether you connect in Bangalore, Mumbai or in India or outside India, I need to protect my assets. Now, when I take security, predominantly in India, we saw device security was one of the predominant discussions happen. And second is the application security. Now, whether this connects on Wi-Fi, non-Wi-Fi or other, we'll come to that touch point bit later. When I said the device security, one of the largest banks, when we did, the bank did not know how many devices were there in their network itself. So what's on my network? It's predominantly the great question before UIDAI happened, how many citizens are there in India? Because you can have a number of passports and other documents, and hence there was no unique number to actually know that. So it starts with that base, and security also is not a single OEM play. You will have multiple OEMs, multiple solutions. I'll not be the person who says that I'll give you perimeter security, antivirus, but what I will give you is a ClearPass Policy Manager, which is a next generation AAA, which talks about role-based access, all the restrictions possible from a security attack. Having said that, why is the security in context with IoT and Wi-Fi is critical? Okay, so the recent hacks were a CCTV camera was compromised to attack, do a DDoS attack into the network. That means it's IoT platform. A fish tank was used to hack a casino. These are all public available. You can Google it. In one of the leading banks in Bangladesh, open network printer was used to compromise the shift code itself. Because of that, Indian entire banking infrastructure deployed something called as network access control. Having said that, so IoT will become a new vector for attack. So it's important that you need to protect that asset, because these are all headless devices. It will not have a MAC ID to protect the way typical static protection is. Parallelly, as we developed around Wi-Fi was always thought that it's not secure. The reason is it's like a bank strong room. Network used to be. You want to connect, come and put a cable into a laptop, then only you connect. To protect that, I used to perimeter security, access control, guards, and used to be there. But Wi-Fi signals are outside building. Why you need to even go into a building? So I always used to say Wi-Fi is double secure than your wired network. WPA3 replaced almost a decade-old WPA2 and brought in many other secured parameters. One important thing is there was a bit of discussion around password. Password could be hacked or can be replicated. SAE, that is simultaneous authentication of equals, was brought in WPA3. That took care of your issues with password, especially becoming harder to crack. At the same time, WPA3 brought in something called as WPA3 Enterprise. We used to do something called as Should Be protocol in some of our army and defense installations. That was for secured encrypted communication between two sites. Okay, so one of the leading powerful armies, Navy and Air Force are still using Should Be protocol. This was around 384-bit encryption, and that too on a double encryption, meaning that to decode that encryption, it used to take almost 20 years. Okay, so Should Be, which was enterprise high secure grade, got introduced in WPA3. So that will be the game changer. Should be 256-bit encryption. That's even though optional from a WPA3, I recommend enterprise and government to make it mandatory for embracing that into their infrastructure. So that means that the discussion which I do, or communication I do on the Wi-Fi will be encrypted to the level where to decrypt it will take time. Having said that, I'm telling about enterprise. I'm talking about simultaneous authentication of equals from password protection. But at the end of the day, I will go to Coffee Day and connect to open network. That's where the guest network or the open network comes into picture. So that was never protected. We used to have the typical PSKs, pre-shared keys, which is not actually secure. Okay, so this is where OWE, that is opportunistic wireless encryption, came into picture. Even in all wireless traffic gets encrypted with OWE. So that means whether Amitabh sits in guest network or open coffee day shop or a Starbucks and connects to a Wi-Fi or in my enterprise building, I'm ensuring that with Wifi6 or the next standards, we protect you in all angles. So as I said, security is not just about WPA3. It is much beyond a larger topic. I restricted myself with the limitation of IoT and Wi-Fi6 and restricted towards WPA3 and discussed about what WPA3 brings into from a security perspective.
Thank you, Surya. I think that was pretty specific and great. Vikas, your thoughts on the security concerns?
No, you are absolutely right, Amitabh. If in order to implement any successful IoT solution, it is important that there is a security layer. And what are the few actions we have also taken is one of the action is that we have already put up the IoT lab. That IoT lab's job is only that whatever device is coming, we need to validate those devices, test those devices thoroughly, so that the security plays a very important role. Because when we represent behalf of all other partners and give them a integrated solution, then credibility goes to us, because they have that trust and they automatically ask that you give me the end-to-end. So we need to validate that part thoroughly. Finally, there are 4 or 5 things which are very, very important in terms of security part, which we always keep in mind, and I'm sure everybody is aware of. One is that employ the device discovery for complete visibility. That's one thing which is very, very important. Second, we should also ensure that apply the network segmentation for strong defense. That segmentation in the network is very much required, which can also create a more service layer. Third, which is important, is that we should adopt secure password practices, because many times there is a loose and that can create a problem. So ensure that there is a secure password practices adopted. And then there should be a continuous to patch and update the firmware. These modules firmware, this plays a very, very important role in our entire solution part. So the regular patch is required in that part. And last but not least is that actively monitor the IoT devices at all times. If we can't monitor the devices, the chances are high that there is a breach of security. So hence, we believe that it's a very important, and because we are working with the B2B companies, they need security part, and that's a privacy, and we don't want any kind of action which can impact the brand and credibility of the organization. It's very important in a nutshell.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vikas. And I think it was a very comprehensive, within the limited period of time that we had, an understanding of Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E coming in, and the marriage between Wi-Fi 6 and the IoT, which is already around us. And I think we all kind of agreed that it is, it's not an option, but to adopt these new technologies with the way things are developing. And when you talk about one last remark on the security, and I think that's one thing that we also need to look at is from a policy perspective. Some of the policies that we have around security, for example, for the telecom service providers, there was this directive in 2009, where telecom service providers are liable for up to 50 crores or something. If there's a breach, they fail to rectify that within a certain time. Now, that is some thing that we used to discuss in our industry forums earlier several times. So they still need to keep up with the new challenges on security, with the Wi-Fi 6 and with IoT coming in. I think we still need to do a lot of work there, and I think the industry needs to come together and also parlay with the government quite a bit on this, on the policy front. That also needs to be looked at. Because I remember 2009, Wi-Fi used to be open networks. Surya talked about that earlier. And I was involved at that point of time when DOT called some of us to discuss how to secure the Wi-Fi access. And I remember giving a presentation on all the possible encryption methods and stuff, giving a tutorial almost to the DOT guys in their third floor conference room, from hash and to AES 128 stuff. And finally, they came out with that the directive that they had, where you had to have your registration before you could access Wi-Fi, right? So I think to some extent that is the kind of work that we will all need to do with them, with the government and the policymakers. Law enforcement agencies are another ballgame. In my experience currently, they lag behind in their not only this understanding, maybe theoretically they do understand a lot, but in practice they are still not geared to meeting the requirements of end users when it comes to being attack victims. And with IoT and of course, the attack vectors are increasing day by day. So there's a lot of work to be done there. So thank you all with that. And I think we've covered a lot of ground and very comprehensive. Thank you, Rakesh, Suryanarayan, Vikas.
Thank you, gentlemen, for such an engaging session.